Welcome to Social Justice Ireland's presentation on the budget, your public participation network, and your community. This presentation will give a brief look at the highs and lows of Budget 2019. For more detail, see our Budget 2019 Analysis and Critique available on our website www.socialjustice.ie. Budget 2019 Revenue and Expenditure. The chart on the left shows the main sources of government revenue in Budget 2019. Income tax accounts for 31% of all revenue, VAT accounts for 20%, corporation tax accounts for 12%, and social insurance or PRSI accounts for 18%. The chart on the right shows the main areas of government expenditure in Budget 2019. Social protection and employment supports, such as pensions, child benefit and job seekers payments, account for €20.5 billion. Health expenditures account for €17 billion, and education accounts for €10.8 billion. We will now take a look at some key budget areas and what was provided or missed in Budget 2019. Housing. When the local authority housing allocation is included, the allocation for housing was €2.4 billion. €1.25 billion of this is allocated to capital expenditure, investment in construction and infrastructure. The budget also provided for an increase in tenant rights for the 340,000 households currently rented in the private sector. These included addressing the loopholes in rent pressure zone legislation and increased funding for property inspections. Healthcare. Budget 2019 provided a welcome increase of €55 million to mental health services, a reduction in prescription charges for the over 70s of 50 cents, and a reduction in the threshold for the drugs payment scheme of €10 per month. Unfortunately, the integration fund falls short of what is needed for the implementation of Slideshow. There has been a lack of investment in primary care networks to have them fully integrated, and there is an overall lack of transparency when it comes to the health budget that doesn't give confidence in the system. Taxation. Social Justice Ireland sought a restoration of the 13.5% VAT rate for the hospitality sector, which was fully implemented in Budget 2019, an increase in betting duties to 2%, and an increase in the excise duty on cigarettes and tobacco products. Unfortunately, Budget 2019 failed to address the real problem of the working poor by introducing a refundable tax credit. It provided no reform of the tax breaks in areas such as pensions and research and development, and it failed to introduce a tax on empty houses. Education. Budget 2019 introduced a net increase of 271 teachers and 101 teachers in special classes, an additional 3,500 places in higher education, and an increase in the employer contribution to the National Training Fund of 0.1%. However, the 5% increase in the capitation grant is insufficient to address the cuts experienced between 2011 and 2015. The increase of €500 million to the Schools Excellence Fund is insufficient to fully support the 7 priorities of this funding, including DESH and STEM supports, and the budget failed to address the issue of funding for higher education as outlined in the Castles report in 2016. Social protection. Budget 2019 increased social welfare rates and state pensions by €5 per week. It also introduced an increase in the qualified child increase that recognised the additional expenses associated with raising children over the age of 12. However, notwithstanding the €5 increase, the rate for job seekers below the age of 26 has still not been brought to the standard level. While we welcome the increase in social welfare supports for self-employed people, the rate of PRSI paid by the self-employed is insufficient to provide for it, and the increase in the fuel allowance does not cover the increased cost of fuel. Work, unemployment and job creation. Social Justice Ireland welcomes the increased allocation to apprenticeships and other training opportunities for people not in employment, and the increase in earned income tax credits to ensure that self-employed workers are not left behind relative to other workers. However, the increase to the minimum wage to €9.80 per hour is still €2.10 below the living wage needed to provide for a minimum essential standard of living. Other areas that might affect your PPN and community. The following charts show a selection of allocations provided for in Budget 2019 that may be of relevance to you, your PPN, or your community, grouped under the 6 headings of the Vision for Community Wellbeing. Here, under the heading for Health, you will see that the Healthy Ireland Fund received no change in allocation, nor did the Drugs Initiative. Primary care reimbursement services and community demand-led schemes, however, received a 1% increase. Under Economy and Resources, Jobs and Enterprise Development received an 8% increase. Innovation received a 12% increase. Skills Development received a 16% increase. And Higher Education received a 1% increase. Under Social and Community Development, the Rural Development and Regional Affairs received a 51% increase. Community Development received a 10% increase. Sports and Recreation Services were increased by 13%. Land Transport was increased by 16%. Children and Family Support Programmes received a 4% increase. And sectoral programmes for children and young people received a 16% increase. Under Participation, Democracy and Good Governance, you'll see that local government received a 45% increase. Standards and Public Office Commission received an 8% increase. The Charities Regulatory Authority received a 1% increase. The Gardaí Working with Communities to Protect and Serve initiative received a 7% increase. And Access to Justice for All received a 3% increase. Under the Values, Culture and Meaning heading, you'll see that the Human Rights and Equality Commission received a 1% increase. The Culture budget line received a 14% increase. The Heritage budget line received a 15% increase. Immigration, Asylum and Citizenship Programme received a 6% increase. The ODA Work on Poverty and Hunger Reduction received a 9% increase. Under Environment and Sustainability, Natural Resources received a decrease of 1%. Environment and Waste Management received an increase of 8%. Thank you for watching. For more information, please see our Budget 2019 Analysis and Critique briefing.